G'day, we're in the last week of March 2026. Today happens to be 23rd of March 2026 as well. My name is George and I'm happy to give you my message of hope for today. Well, I pulled into my local BP petrol station yesterday and the price of the diesel, wow, it caught my attention even before I got out of the car. It was just shy of $3 a litre. I don't have a diesel engine car, but I really stare at that figure for quite a few seconds. Because that number isn't just the price, it's just a single as well. See, unleaded 95 petrol has risen roughly 30%, 32%, yeah, in less than 3 weeks. Diesel, close to 40%. You probably can guess the reason for it. Straight up Hamas. Has been largely closed since late February, which means crude oil is trading well above $100 a barrel. Australia is estimated sitting on roughly about 37 days of petrol stockpile and 30 days of diesel. Depends on who you listen to, which experts. However, I'm going to quote that the head of commodities at Combank said this week that across all the major energy crises in modern history, we can think about the Suez Canal, the 1973 oil embargo, and the Iranian Revolution, right? This is by far the biggest disruption to oil market he has seen. People are even calling it a black swan event. A black swan event is a rare, high-impact disruption that in hindsight looks like it should have been predictable, but in the moment, it catches most of us completely flat-footed. Behind the 8 ball, as they say. Now, here is what quietly unsettles me about that description, because we have been there before, right? History repeats. In 1973, Arab OPEC nations cut off oil exports to the West in response to the Yom Kippur War. Now, the prices quadrupled, petrol queues stretch around city blocks. In 1979, the Iranian Revolution sent another shock through the global markets. So, both times the lesson was the same, wasn't it? The world runs on oil, and oil supply can be disrupted by events none of us will ever control. So we knew that. We've always known that, didn't we? Because it's history. I guess the question is whether the knowledge ever changed anything at all. Now, I'm going to give you a quick practical note on the fuel quality story you may have seen on TV and on radio last week. You see, on March 12th, the federal government announced a 60-day emergency exemption, which allowed petrol with slightly high sulfur content back into the Australian market. You can guess, right? The reason is supply pressure. There isn't much going on around the supply bit. So what this law has done, it allows around 100 million extra litres per month to flow domestically rather than to be exported. We just need the oil ourselves. So here's what that actually means for your car. I'll try to simplify it because it's a sulfur question, not an octane question. Now, Australia only introduced this ultra low sulfur standard, which is 10 parts per million, back very recently, 2025 December, just 3 months ago. So what's now temporarily permitted is 50 parts per million, which is chemically identical to what we were filling up with our tank throughout all of 25 anyway, and for many years before that. Now the NIMA said it plainly, this is not going to hurt your engine. For most cars on Australian roads today, the fuel in question is what they ran on last year without a second thought. So the exception is the newer European vehicles, particularly those bought after December 2025 and fitted with petrol particulate filters. That's been designed for an ultra low sulfur environment. Unfortunately, mine isn't. Now if that's you, your owner's manual and your dealership are your guides right now. And Petrol 98 is your safer option. A little bit expensive, but gives you a lot of power. Now, it's worth saying clearly, this change affects petrol only, so it's not diesel. So let's come back to it. Okay, yeah, Oh, sorry, I'm just in a park stepping on something. Alright, here we go. Oh, so while you're here, if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this message so people can see it, hear it, and hopefully take action themselves. Alright, I'm going to tell you about the first car I ever owned. I had a habit. I confess I never filled the tank past halfway. Not because money was tight, I had money, I was working, but because I was afraid a car would be stolen. It was a very old car, but still, nevertheless, it was my car. Now my reasoning, and I need you to appreciate the full sophistication of this, was that if a thief was going to make off with my car in the middle of the night, at least they weren't driving away on a full tank. They'll get half at most. A small victory in the circumstances. I was quite pleased with myself. I thought I was a genius. Was I? Anyway, then one morning I walked out and found the passenger side mirror gone. And the VW badge, the pride and joy, the metal one, it's missing from the bonnet. Yeah, the car was sitting there completely untouched, but the mirror wasn't, and the badge definitely wasn't there. Think about it, I had spent months rationing fuel against a car thief who never came. Well, apparently, nobody had thought to guard the badge. I didn't. So there is an acronym, I like this one, for what I was doing. It's FEAR, F-E-A-R, right? It represents false evidence appearing real. The threat I had built an entire strategy around never arrived. The loss I experienced was something I had never once thought to prepare for. I mean, who will go and steal a mirror? I don't know. So the half tank sitting in the gauge had protected nothing. Zippo. Not because the fear was unreasonable, but because it was pointed entirely at the wrong thing. I think about that a lot in context of financial life, because I love that car. People blindsided by disruptions that they have been visible for months because they were managing today rather than preparing for tomorrow. Looking back on seasons like that, and I'm sure many people are in one right now, you wish for a little more margin, a little more buffer in your cash flow, right? Just a little more room to make a good decision rather than a panic one. So the disruption wasn't the problem. Unpreparedness was the problem here. Which is exactly where the Bible takes us. Have a listen to this. Proverbs chapter 27 verse 12. I'm going to watch out, there's quite a few dogs around here from the distance. It says, the prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it. I say it again, the prudent sees danger. It's present tense, it's active. Not reacts after it arrives. Not recovers once the damage is done. He sees it and acts before it lands. So this is not talking about anxiety. That's not panic buying 12 months of canned food and retreating to a bunker somewhere. I believe some people in the world are doing that now. Nope. The prudent person simply pays attention to what is coming and makes a quiet decision in advance. So no supervisor, no crisis forcing the conversation. Just eyes open and the willingness to act on what they see. So the simple person keeps going. Let me talk about that. His head's down, business as usual. Nothing shifts until the moment the price at the browser forces the decision. And by then the options are fewer and the costs are higher. I mean, those types of stories, even people steal and try to steal. There was one yesterday, a story, a guy tried to steal a worker's truck for petrol. Unbelievable. So I guarded the petrol for months. Talking about my first car, nobody came for the car. The badge walked off quietly. Right? So that was the result of my story. And what does the prudent person actually do right now? So before the crisis, Australian petrol prices follow a fairly predictable weekly pattern. I just want to share that with you, right? Okay? You do your own homework. And this pattern is tending to dip midweek, Tuesday and Wednesday before climbing towards the weekend. So check out apps like Petrol or Motormouth. These apps are there to check these prices over time. Now I mention that as a picture of what normal looks like, because right now with the supply this disrupted and prices this volatile, that cycle may not behave the way it used to. Sure, I think when things stabilize, and they will, that pattern awareness is worth building, isn't it? For now, just check prices before you drive, not as an afterthought, okay? Now combine your trips. What was good practice before this is close to essential now. 2 errands, 1 drive, and drive with intention. And a deeper one, this is the moment to actually look at your transport spending. It's not an estimate, just look. Pull up 3 months of statements and total it honestly. Total up, sum it up. If fuel prices sustain at these levels for months, and the forecasts are saying months, not weeks, what needs to shift in your spending plan to absorb that? Because things will change, right? Because the families who navigate this season, and they do it well, are not the lucky ones. They are the ones who look honestly before the crisis made the question unavoidable. So that is Proverbs 27 verse 12 interpreted. Now let's hear the second half of this verse, because it hasn't finished yet. The prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it. The simple go on and suffer for it. Do you want to suffer? It's not a curse, it's just an observation. That is a quiet and sad one. The consequence is not punishment from above, it is simply the natural result of not looking. The fuel price is not the problem. I think unpreparedness is the big problem. But you know what? Good news, unpreparedness is fixable. Right now, today, before April arrives. Right? We called the 1973 event unprecedented. Oh, that's a big word, I can't say. Same for 1979. We keep calling these words, these events, black swans. But they keep arriving in patterns that a watching person could have seen. Yeah? The Strait of Hormuz has always been a choke point, if you study geographically. The stockpile numbers have always been low. None of this was secret information. My friends, I guarded fuel for a few months. Nobody came for the car. What actually walked off was a badge. A small metal badge and a mirror I hadn't once thought about. Yeah? The question isn't whether disruption is coming. Again, I'm going to say, it came in 1973, it came in 1979, it came again last month through a waterway 21 miles wide that most Australians couldn't have found on a map 3 weeks ago. Yeah, so the question is, what are you actually preparing for? What risk are you guarding against that was never the real one? Remember, the prudent sees danger. Tell me, put in your comments, what do you see? Alright, thanks for being with me today. I really appreciate it. It's a really sunny day. I think this is the best day for the week. I'm going to enjoy a bit of sunshine, get some vitamin D. Take care. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.